All right, Jay, let's keep it pushing. Let's get to our scapegoat segment, Jay. Shout out you. It was a great idea from you. Um, I have, as you know, I have an ongoing segments list. This was newly added to there, so thank you, Jay. Love
Mm-hmm.
this segment. And basically for the listeners out there, for the family out there, this is the way we're gonna do it. I have 3 teams, and Jay has 3 teams, and we just like chose these teams like prior to the episode. And let's say that whatever team, like Team X or Team Y, doesn't reach their full potential or doesn't go where they were
Expectations.
there you go,
Expectations.
where they were expected to go, who is to blame? Who is going to be the scapegoat? So that's what we're going to go ahead and get into. Jay, let's do a little bit back and forth. So I don't know, you want to go first? You want me to go first? And then we can just
I do. Let me add to that a little bit
go ahead.
because it's like there's a lot of predetermined stuff out there. It's like, so when I say, if I tell you the Suns have a second round to exit, it's like people are already going to have their preconceived notions about who's to blame.
Mhm.
So it's like, and then what actually happens in the playoffs is going to have something to do with it. But we want to have a little healthy back and forth about like what's the chatter, where are people pointing fingers at, and so actually I'm gonna start out with one of my teams, and I want you to guess who I think the scapegoat is on mine. So like, and I'm gonna keep it simple for you. Who do you think the scapegoat's going to be on Minnesota when they underachieve this year?
Karl-Anthony Towns.
Yes, and that was my vote too.
Yeah.
Like, this one, it might be, who's the GM over there? Who pulled the trigger on that? I forget the dude's name.
All I know is A-Rod's over there. That's all I know. That's all I know.
Yeah, the guy who pulled the trigger on the Gobert shit. I should have looked that one up. But long story short,
I'll figure it out while you talk.
Jaden McDaniels is in line for about an $18 million raise next year. Ant's going to be in line for about
Tim
a 20.
Conley.
Tim Conley. Yep, that was the
Sorry,
one. He came from Denver. From Denver. And then and Ant's getting his max extension kick in, and then Carl Anthony Towns gets another $13 million. But if they lose, let's say Gobert gets played off the court, he's 30 something, and he's only got 2 years left. And if they trade him, they're conceding the fact that this was a failure, and then they're getting 20 cents on the dollar. Mm-hmm. So he's not an option. They ain't gonna blame Ant. They're gonna do everything that they can do to keep him. Mm-hmm. And it's like, and then could they fire the coach? They're competing for the number 1 seed the majority of the year. Yeah. Like this one's an easy one. It's a layup, and everybody's already smelling it. It's gonna be Cat, and I'm curious to see who the suitors are gonna be. But it's like there's almost no scenario in which they lose in the second round.
Yeah.
And he's not to blame.
No, so. I'm right there with you, Jay. And I feel like also ever since like the emergence of Anthony Edwards, and because the league is so like, what have you done for me lately? They'll just so easily forget about what Cat has done for that team and all that he has brought for them, that it's just like, all right, well, we're not getting rid of Rudy because we're not going to lose out like that. Anthony Edwards is our guy. So Karl-Anthony Towns, you're the only one left to blame. So I'm right there with you, Jay. I like that. Karl-Anthony Towns for the Timberwolves. All right, Jay, for my first team, the Nuggets. Okay, let's do the same thing. Who do you think that I have as a scapegoat, or I guess who would you put as a scapegoat?
That was a tricky one. Mm-hmm. You threw that at me, and then I was like, "Oh, that's a good one," because I think that they were like smooth sailing. Like they built up so much goodwill from last year's championship. Like they'd be like, "Oh no, let's just ride with it again." But if I had to pick one, I'd pick Michael Porter Jr. on that ugly ass contract that he got.
Okay, all right. Is it like play wise, or like just a contract, or like for what?
Play like pay versus production.
Okay.
Like Michael Porter Jr. makes, I don't know if you know this, he makes $33 million.
Yeah, he makes a lot of money.
And it's like, if you honestly replaced him with Duncan Robinson, like how much, like he's obviously a better player than Duncan Robinson, right? Obviously, right?
Within the system. And, I hear what you're saying.
But if you replaced him and then maybe gave more minutes to like Peyton Watson or Christian Braun, depending on the situation, like how much is the team really regressing? But this was your pick, so I'm
Okay.
gonna leave that. You let me talk too long. You need to just tell
Nah,
me
brother.
straight up, man.
I know you talking too long. Here's what I got. I think the scapegoat, and it might sound crazy because he's not a highly paid player, but I'm looking at this basketball wise, is Christian Braun. Look, check this out, man. So
Mhm.
when Bruce Brown left, and deservingly so, Bruce Brown went to go get a bag, probably biggest payday of his life. Can't even blame him
Mhm.
for it.
Yeah.
He went to go get a bag, been traded after, whatever. That's not what we're going to get into now. But Bruce Brown last year for the Nuggets averaged 12 points per game, 5 rebounds on almost 50% from the field. Christian Braun was supposed to be the Bruce Brown replacement. And I was saying this all offseason. I was like, the people are going to realize just how much Bruce Brown meant to that team. When Mikal Bridges went from the Suns to the Nets, I think that he officially went from not being a role player to being like a star or like
Mhm.
the star on the team, right? So I couldn't consider him a role player because when Mikal Bridges was on the Suns, I said Mikal Bridges was the best role player in the league. And then Bruce Brown started performing so well back from his Nets days, and then also on the Denver Nuggets. Like Bruce Brown last year literally did everything for the Nuggets. Go back and watch those games. There was times when he was the point guard and he's running the pick and roll with Jokic or whatnot. But there's also times where he's the screener and the roller on that pick and roll, and he's
Mhm.
guarding other teams' big man, and he's like 6'6", but he was just amazing on perimeter defense, amazing inside. He could shoot the ball, spot up. He could bring the ball up court. He could be the
Mhm.
roll man. He could literally do everything for them. And everyone kept talking about, oh no, Christian Braun is going to step up. Christian Braun is going to step up. And I don't even mean to hate on him. I'm not trying to hate on him. You know, I know he was doing his thing, but what I kept telling people is I was like, you're putting way too much expectations on a second year player. You're asking a second year player to literally fill in the shoes of the best role player in the entire NBA. At that point, he was the best role player in the entire NBA. So I kept saying, I was like, you guys are slipping up, man. You guys aren't really watching the games. Look at how much Bruce Brown does comparatively to what Christian Brown's going to have to fill. He's not going to be able to do all that. And come to find out, he's been solid, but the man hasn't scored more than 14 points ever since November 17th. So as far as like production wise, he hasn't been nearly what Bruce Brown was bringing to them. He's right now, Christian Braun is averaging, I believe, 6 points per game, 3 rebounds, 1 assist, 45% from the field. So to me, not only was Bruce Brown having better averages, but he was also just having a better impact and better day in and day out role. And I think that the Nuggets are now starting to realize just how much. Well, no, actually, I'm not even going to say starting to realize. I'll take that back. I'm saying if it goes downhill and if they don't win a championship. So that's what I'll say. If it goes downhill, they don't win a championship, they'll realize just how much they're missing Bruce. So I don't know if you want to call the scapegoat not having Bruce, or if you want to call the scapegoat Christian Braun, but that's the way I look at it.
Okay. So I was trying to improvise on the fly here,
Mm-hmm.
and I was pulling up as you were talking to
Okay.
me. I look at the net difference of what they lost with Bruce Brown, and then I was like, okay, yeah, Christian Brown was the one that they dubbed the guy that if Bruce Brown leaves. You're right.
Mm-hmm.
That's where they went at in the offseason. But when I looked at like who I feel like they piece parted it between Christian Brown, Reggie Jackson, and Peyton Watson.
Okay.
And Peyton Watson's the one who's been jumping off the screen defensively to me
Mm-hmm.
for the Nuggets lately. Like he's been checking a few dudes. I'd have to go look back at it. I didn't. I forgot who it was. I don't know if it was the Clippers or whoever. It was
Mm-hmm.
KD. I don't know. He was slapping somebody around defensively with some blocks. Like he was just he was doing it. And so then I just pulled up Peyton Watson and Bruce Brown. Bruce Brown's stats last year versus Peyton Watson's stats this year on StatHead. And the numbers are pretty one and what. Now, offensively, you can't compare the two. Bruce Brown, his unique value is, right, he's a roll man. He's a facilitator, can run a little bit of pick and roll, like a jack of all trades, but then a plus defender, right? And so like you can't replace him with one man. Like, and he's a closing five guy, right? So, but my question, the reason you can't put it on Christian Braun and his small contract and low expectations. I think that they're gonna piece part that. If they need some offense and Christian Braun ain't it, put in Reggie Jackson. If they need some defense, some versatility, they're going to put in Peyton Watson and kind of play it by ear. And hopefully Peyton Watson or or Christian Braun can grow into that role on a more permanent basis. So
Okay, that's
if
fair.
if they shit on Braun, like going in another direction ain't going to really make him a scapegoat.
That's fair. That's fair. That's fair. I like that. All right, Jay, what's your next team?
Clippers.
Talk to me.
No, you tell me. You want me to guess? Stands out?
All right. Honestly, just to stay on the storyline that we were in earlier, Kawhi Leonard's nagging injury starting at the worst time. If they don't make it, it's got to be on Kawhi Leonard, best player. If they don't make it,
kind of
injuries. What's that? I guess if they don't make it through injuries, right? Because I mean, Kawhi Leonard's not there.
So here's why I push back on that one.
Okay.
They just gave him that contract extension. Did you know that? Like
I
don't. Okay, so they gave him. So it was really weird because you know how him and PG-13 they signed together.
Yeah.
But right before the season started, or maybe a month ago, somewhere in the last 2 months, they gave Kawhi 150 large for the next 3 years after this year.
Okay.
Right. So I don't know if it's that new stadium or what, but long story short, after this year, he's got 3 for 150 coming his way. So no matter how they feel,
it ain't going to.
Like the ink dried on that one. You know? So this one's a little sticky, bro. And actually, I don't even have one. I didn't even put too much thought in it. I'm honest. I was like, the Clippers, we'll just see where this conversation goes. But Paul George is up for an extension, and anything less than what Kawhi got is going to be disrespectful. So I don't think there's a preconceived scapegoat in this. This one's going to have a lot to do with how does Harden react when cheeks get tight, and we know his track record, and his playoff P.
Or pandemic P. Which one is
or pandemic P? You know
which one is it?
So this one's a little tricky. It's actually going to be like a kind of like must see TV because personally, I think they're a second round and exit, bro.
Depends.
Actually, let's get your updated perspective on that because a month ago I was
high on them.
Are you still?
It really depends who they play. I ain't gonna lie, right? Like that is a huge determining factor because I mean, right now they have the Pelicans. I would have them beating the Pelicans, to be honest with you, but I don't know.
Their expectations are like you got to get past the second round, right? Like what's a wait? What? Hold on. Define a failure for the Clippers and their $200 million payroll. Please define expectations.
Honestly, you got me thinking. I would say failure is not reaching the Western Conference Finals, to be honest. I mean, look at this team. Look at how long you've been. Look how long you've been together.
So a second round exit. If they win one round and then get bounced in the second round, we can call this year a failure.
Yeah.
I agree with you. But then the thing is they get the Pels in the first round. Okay, let's say they mop them, which isn't a given, but let's just say that they do.
Hopefully.
That means the second round, they get in the Thunder or the Nuggets, or maybe a lucky Timberwolves, maybe, but they're not getting the Timberwolves because the Timberwolves, one of them has to get the 1 seed, and that's not happening.
So look, I don't feel comfortable with damn near nobody in the rest of the league against the Nuggets, but against the Thunder, I ain't gonna lie, Jay.
Maybe.
I know they've been playing great, but they literally almost have no playoff experience. And the game, and I don't mean to sound like a broken track record, but Jay, the game is played differently in the playoffs, and it's about a bucket, and you have players on that team that just you can run down the line that can go get a bucket, whether it's a 2, whether it's a 3, whether it's getting to the free throw line, whether it's exposing Chet. Like, so that's why I want to say, like, unless you get to the Western Conference Finals,
who's gonna expose Chet?
Nigga, Zubac.
What?
Bro, Jay.
What?
Jay. You
If
know, Chet,
Zubac is going to do that to Chet, then what the hell is Jokic going to do to him?
of course. But what? Of
But
course.
no, we're not talking about no. We're not going to digress right now. Tell me Zubac blasting Chet. That is not.
Bro, he's putting the shoulder in his chest, and Chet is moving, and then you're gonna have to
I
bring the
agree.
double team. And
I
then what
agree. But
happens when you bring the double team?
Zubac ain't built like that, bro. He's not going to like his great game is going to be like 16-6. Like,
Bro, who just had a 31-point night? 31 rebound. Bro, Yusuf Nurkic had 31 rebounds against Oklahoma City Thunder and Chet the other night. You don't think
okay.
Zoo is gonna even be more of a bone bruiser against Chet, who needs to put on more lbs? Like, I just think my theory of like not a logic or whatever. My theory, I'm looking at it is just like, yo, like I'm not saying Zubac is gonna be like Jokic and kill him with his passing, but I think that he's capable enough of putting a shoulder into Chet. Double comes. When the double comes, I just gotta swing it to the open man.
That might happen less than 3 times in the game, but
Okay.
they are not going to be disciplined enough, nor is Zubac skilled enough for them to just say, Chet is fish fruit. He's too light in the ass. Let's go milk Zubac for 25 and 16.
Second chance
That's just
points,
not.
though. What about
I mean, I hear you, but I'm gonna give Mark Daigneault the Thunder as a whole because they are small, and I think that lack of that lack of size is going to be their downfall in the end, but it's not going to be their downfall against the Clippers. Okay. We'll see that lack of size be a downfall against whoever comes out of the East and the Nuggets, but nobody else's size is gonna take them. Even when Chet, even in the non-Chet minutes, they're still not gonna. The Clippers are not capable of punking them. Okay. Maybe even Minnesota, but not the Clippers.
Okay.
So you're gonna have to stand on that one. We got it on recording.
Yeah.
So we'll come back to that one.
We'll come back to that. All right, Jay. Here's my next team, Jay. I'm pretty excited to say this one. I don't have too many numbers on this, but the numbers that I do have speak volume. It's the Celtics. And I think if they don't go where they're supposed to go, and in my opinion, it's to win the championship. I mean, how many more times are you supposed to have deep playoff runs without winning the championship? So you have to win a championship. That's what you have to do.
Anything less than that is a failure.
Anything less than that is a failure. Just the same way I'm looking at the Nuggets. Anything less than a championship is a failure. So for the Celtics, if they don't come through and they don't do what they're supposed to do, I'm blaming none other than Jason Tatum in the clutch. Yes, he's the best player on the best team, but Jay, check out this stat real quick. Jason Tatum is shooting 32% from the field in clutch time. Among 27 players who have at least taken 45 shots or more, who at least have 45 shots in clutch time this season, Tatum ranks absolute last in field goal percentage.
So you're putting your money. So we don't know the future, so we can't assume that his scapegoat is that's going to be the reason. But you're making a educated guess from what you've seen that if they lose, it'll probably be because he's coming up short in the biggest moments.
Yep, because they're not going to mollywop nobody in the finals. So I think it's going to come close. It's going to be a clutch time game every single time, and he's going to not perform like how he has been. And this isn't just this year, Jay. Literally, almost every single year in his career, he has been bottom tier in the league in field goal percentage and clutch time.
Question.
What's up?
This year, he's up for that $300 million extension, like this summer, right? So, in order to be a scapegoat, I would assume that it's going to have to like redirect what the decision-making process, who's going to take all the blame. And I guess we could talk about the scapegoat from a fan's point of view versus when they get in that boom room, like who are they going to blame? The decision makers, I mean.
Well, that's different though. And you know, like we looking at it one way, they got millions and millions of dollars invested in this, so they looking at it another way. So it's like,
so he's going to get paid regardless of like if he comes up short in a game 7, like he's still getting that 300.
Still getting he's their guy. They're not letting him walk.
Okay. So from a fan's point of view, yeah, I could see that. I could see because Tatum has the expectations to be the star.
Yes.
And to me, again, I gotta get it out there. He's a top 10 player in the league, but I'm not sure he'll ever be a top 5 player. Like the guys that age out of it, there's going to be some young bucks behind him
Like
that
SGA.
like SGA, if SGA isn't already in front of him, right? And Ants on his way. Like, so when I look at him, I'm like, I don't, yeah. But so from the fans' point of view and their expectations of him, he might be the punching bag. But if I had to say who the scapegoat's going to be, it's going to be
JB.
I'm gonna leave that alone. I'm not even gonna say his name. Stop it! He's killing right now.
You know what's
crazy?
Killing
right now.
You know, so you're talking about Jaylen Brown, right?
Okay.
Yeah. So you know what's
right now.
You know what's crazy for the family out there? Jay said this about like honestly, it might have been damn near close to a year or so ago, but it was a minute ago. He's talking about how Jaylen Brown is so overpaid and just watch how it's gonna play now. And it has panned out damn near the exact way on point that Jay has said it. But regardless of that, Jay, I just think that like I mean these teams when they're so deeply heavily invested, especially financially into a player, like they'll look the other way. Like you literally just said it right now. I mean earlier, I believe it was about Anthony Edwards. You were saying like even if Anthony Edwards like misses his literally every shot in every single playoff series and they get knocked out in the first round, they're still not going to blame Anthony Edwards. And it's the same way I feel with both Tatum and Brown. Like they'll say Peyton Pritchard, what the heck, before they get on Brown or Tatum, to be honest, or they'll blame Kristaps, to be honest.
If Kristaps misses, if they get if they're missing him as they get booted from the playoffs, it'll be an issue. Drew Holiday, how his postseason performance is big because he's going to opt out, bro. He's going to opt out and he's going to ask for 50 large, like
50
yeah, he is. And then he's going to say, if you don't give it to me, I'm going to go to the Pistons. That's what he's going to say. I'm telling you.
I'd be sick if he goes to the Pistons.
Yeah. Who got up
Jay,
next?
Who you got? I think we both got one more team. Who you got?
I'm going to do the Suns. Tell me who's to blame, bro.
Bradley Beal. If they don't go where they're supposed to go, I think it's Bradley Beal. And it's because, and I don't want to get into too much as your team, but I think that they came into the season thinking, all right, we're going to build this team with this top heavy roster. And one of those guys just has not been available. So like they built their team one way and they don't even have it.
This one's my favorite one because it gets no burn, right? Like it's actually the most boring, but it like because I know what's going to happen. It's not interesting. But it's like my rubbernecking on the side of the road. I got my little popcorn and I'm just watching. It's like when he is to blame because of a back or a hamstring or whatever, and the misappropriation of funds going on over there, like he's just getting paid way too much.
Yes.
And they blame him. What can you do about it?
Nothing. You got to just say, please just try to get healthy for next season.
You can't I mean, like I did a little excerpt on my little pod. Like you can't trade him. Like that trade required that no trade didn't refresh. It didn't like go away.
Yeah.
So like hey, you want to go to we want to send you to Minnesota. Hey, we want to send you to it's like, is it Miami? Is it LA?
Then nope. I'm good.
That's exactly what he's been to say, right? Everybody's gonna be blasting him.
So gonna be like, LOL, no thanks.
And the world ain't ready to talk about trading KD. The world ain't ready to talk about trading Book.
Yeah.
Right. So then who's next up? Your boy.
Bradley Beal.
No. Your boy from LA. He's next up. The coach.
Oh, okay.
The whipping boy.
Frank?
Get
his ass out of here. Get his ass out of here.
Like he's personally to blame for procuring Bradley Beal. Like he's personally blamed for that no trade clause. Come on, man.
No, that's how it goes. That's one thing I'll be feeling so bad about coaches. Like coaches, like would damn near just get the blame before anything, and only because like just the players just getting paid too much. It's like, I don't know what you want me to do, brother. Like, you just not getting paid as much as him, so I'm gonna have to let you go. I'm sorry.
See,
So
but I got to do an okey doke on you because I
talk to
got
me.
you defend. You got you defending coaches now. Talk to me about Darvin Ham. I set you up right now. Defend him.
I can't defend that nigga. I really can't.
I'm gonna leave
I
that
really
alone.
can't. Jay, you know what's crazy? I'm gonna just be honest. That was my last team, right? And that's who I have as a scapegoat. Is a Darvin Ham. Like, dude, I can't defend him. Like, and it's not even a scapegoat. He's the blame. Like, he is the actual blame. Like, don't get me wrong. I think this problem is so big that it's like you can't pinpoint it on one person, but like he has the biggest chunk of the pie. It's like, I imagine, like,
what is it? Come on, let it out, man. What
let's
is it?
say,
What should he be doing that he's not doing?
bro, first of all, it doesn't make any sense to run 3 guard lineups when all 3 of those guards are bad defenders. Okay, like that's the first thing. The second thing, lack of timeout calling. Jay, you know how much I'm a Lakers fan. I mean, I have the Lakers corner page. I do like the lives after every Lakers game, and I cannot tell you how many times I have watched the Lakers give up. Like, I'm talking like 21 or some points. I mean, the last game we had, the team went on a 21-3 run against us, and Darvin Ham did not call one timeout. Did not call one timeout. Like, do you have to understand how absolutely crazy that is to
Time. Quick question. Do you think that LBJ or AD, like, they have the gravitas, the free will, the latitude, the whatever, carte blanche to be able to call a timeout on behalf of, F what the coach say, we just gonna call a timeout right now?
I just don't feel like that's a player's job.
Maybe not, but how long does it take you to interject and just say, hey, no, I'm commandeering the ship here. We're just gonna call a timeout. Like, if it was really a timeout that would have games changing outcome ramifications,
it would.
Then you don't put any accountability
No.
the assistant coaches or the players to just,
No, I mean, as far as like I said, I think this is a very big blame, and you cannot pull it fully on Darvin Ham, but he has the biggest chunk of the blame because of the lack of lineups, because of lack of timeout calls, because of his inability to make changes, because of his inability to take accountability for mistakes and for issues that's happened. I mean, bro, it's been time and time again that not only the lack of timeout callings, but it's like it's been proven. It's been proven that this 3 guard lineup does not work, but he keeps running 3 guard lineups. Or back a couple games ago when D'Angelo Russell had it going, and then in crunch time minutes, you put Spencer Dinwiddie in over D'Angelo Russell. You know what I'm saying? Or we could even get into like some of these substitutions. We picked up Skylar Mays, who we ended up cutting him, and he's on our G League team. Okay, but Skylar Mays was getting minutes before Jalen Hood-Schifino, which was our 17th overall pick. So you mean to tell me you trust more the guy you just picked up on waivers? You're going to give him a chance more than you're going to give Jalen Hood-Schifino a chance? I'm not even saying Jalen Hood-Schifino is the answer, but he's more of an answer than a guy you just picked up and just waived a couple of weeks later. But Skylar Mays was getting more minutes than him. You understand what I'm saying? Like, this, the lack of minutes, the everything, Jay. Like, I really cannot back him up. Like, I really can't back him up. And I tried to for a very long time, but I just can't. I can't do the 3 guard lineup. I can't do the lack of timeouts. I can't do.
Okay, I got a question for you.
And he doesn't. He refuses to change that 3 guard lineup and change that drop coverage. Like, it's crazy.
I got a question for you. Were you one of those? Where were you on Frank Vogel? Were you one of those that ran him out of town?
I ran him out of town, and here's why. But I ran.
Go ahead. Talk.
Here's why I ran him out of town, and I ran him out of town mainly because it's really Rob and Jeannie's fault. Because so in 2020, so for me to be able to answer this question, I got to date back to 2020. In 2020, when Frank Vogel was the coach, he was a really good coach for us. You know why? Because he's a defensive-minded coach, and we had defensive-minded players. We had Dwight, we had JaVale, we had Avery Bradley, we had Rondo, we had AD, but we had and Air Force back there. Like I remember seeing interviews where our perimeter players were saying like sometimes like I just let a player go by me, like because if he blows by me, like I don't try to reach and foul because I know Dwight, JaVale, AD gonna clean it up down there. So like that's how great our defense was. Literally the next we won the championship 2020. Literally the next year, the Lakers front office decided to make a huge change. We don't bring back Dwight, we don't bring back JaVale, end up signing Carmelo Anthony, Trevor Ariza, all these offensive minded players. And I remember also watching Lakers players talk about interviews, and they're like, yeah, we're trying to go offensively minded. But the issue is Frank Vogel was a defensive minded coach. So in 2020, I loved him because his playing style or his coaching style met our player style. Then 2021, it didn't at all. He was still trying to act like we had defensive minded players, and he's still trying to put Trevor Ariza and Carmelo Anthony to play big time defensive minutes. And it's like, yo, like that's not what they're here to do. So it didn't work with Frank Vogel that year, and I just put such a bad taste in my mouth with Frank Vogel after that year. I'm like, bro, you're running dumb lineups. We don't have the same team we did last year. And the issue with Darvin Ham, and I'm going to say this, I'm going to say it on record. Darvin Ham, I've watched a lot of bad Lakers coaches. I've seen Luke Walton. I've seen, bro, just the bad of the bad. Darvin Ham, in my opinion, in my 25 years of watching basketball, is by and far the worst coach I have ever seen coach this Lakers team. He's not even a defensive-minded coach. Coach. That's the thing, Jay. He's not anything. Like I think his true spot is an assistant coach in this league. Like he was doing great on the Bucks. Just you could go back, to be honest. That's where I'm at with it, Jay.
So I've known some Laker fans in my day, and they're all quick to pound the coaches. And you're right, it's like this turnstile going back to like Luke Walton and Frank Vogel, and so like, and personally, I just love watching you Laker fans get all animated. And you remind me of like, because I just turned in I had a Warriors card for like 20 plus years, right? This is before it was cool. I just remember the day that Mike Dunleavy got drafted, and my feelings was so hurt. We just missed out on Yao Ming, but anyway, I say all that to say that I used to get so emotional, and like blast the hell out of Steve Kerr. But man, watching you get all animated talking about it, I set you up with that one too. So
that was you set me up perfectly, Jay. You set me up perfectly, man.
The worst by far.
The worst by far, Jay. I ain't gonna lie. That's where I'm at with it, Jay. You got do you I think you already did your last team, or you got one more?
No, I'm good.
You good, man, brother. This was a freaking great episode. Great conversation, Jay. I love having these great conversations with you. They're like therapy to me. I ain't gonna lie, Jay. They're like therapy to me. But will you have any last words to say before we skedaddle out of here, brother?
No, man. It was a good show. Looking for things to heat up and get a little bit get more consistent. Get back on the train.
Yes, sir, man. Yes, sir. For the family out there, appreciate you guys staying tuned all the way through, whether you on podcast, whether you on YouTube. We appreciate the love. We appreciate the support. Me and Jay going to keep pumping out this great content, man. Continue to expect 2 episodes per week. We going crazy. Can continue to be this consistent. And as playoffs kicks in, man, me and Jay, we might like live cracking or something. We're going to have to get some cracking here, Jay, because this season's getting into the nitty and gritty where I love it most. But as always, guys, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. If you're on Apple Podcasts, leave us a nice little ranking, a rating, whatever it is. Appreciate you guys. Don't forget to follow our Instagram, Twitter, TikTok. It's at Clutch Talk Pod. And if you want to just get into some good basketball conversation, join our Discord. Link will be in the description. But for now, Jay, I think we good. Jay, we can get up out of here, Jay.
Yeah, sounds good.
Peace, y'all. Peace.